I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with the feeder flash for Thursday, July the 10th, brought to you in part by Specialty Risk Insurance. They can handle any kind of insurance that you're looking for, especially if you're an agribusiness. They've got farm and ranch insurance, they've got construction insurance, employee benefits, trucking, livestock insurance, including LRPs, commercial type insurance, crop insurance, anything. And you guys that have sale barns, they're a turnkey. They can handle everything from the front door to the back gate for you sale barns if you need insurance. For more information, go to specialtyrisk.com. Busy week for Brooke, and I'm talking about Brooke Rollins, our Secretary of Agriculture. I mean, she's just all the time making big statements and everything here this week already, and we're just now in the middle of the week really, but she had a big statement already saying about the National Farm Security Action Plan, which among other things, the biggest part of it is basically there's going to be no more foreign ownership of U.S. farms and ranches, and that sounds good to all of us. I mean, it might take some of the value away, but I wouldn't think very many of us would be wanting to sell our farms to foreigners. Also, is going to be America First policy on a lot of this food safety, which I think that's music to most of your farmers and ranchers' ears there a little bit. But we saw something come in late on Wednesday, and it was kind of a big one because we just got news that we were going to open up the border last week. It cratered the board on Tuesday. I don't know why they announced it then. I told you about that. That was ridiculous. And then now they come in on Wednesday evening, and apparently Mexico reported a new case of New World screwworm just 160 miles north of the current sterile fly dispersal grid. So that would be north of that, and it is only 370 miles south of the U.S.-Mexico border, where before I think the closest case they said was about 700 miles. And so she closed the border again. Is it going to be open or is it going to be shut? We're about tired of hinging on this, you know. Make a decision and stick with it. Do we really think that is what could happen? I tell you what, one reason we needed this National Farm Security Action Plan is the biggest part of most of these foreign countries, with the exception of probably Canada and maybe a few in Europe, they're crooked. They're absolutely crooked, including Mexico. They are crooked from one end to the other. They're corrupt. I don't know if you guys have been down there lately, but you know, I got a guy off of a DWI, which he was purely guilty of, I mean, in the first degree. I got him off for like 45 bucks. Now, don't you think maybe for a couple of hundred, you know, they could have got that guy to just not report that case that they were talking about, but maybe it was somebody from USDA down there, but they said Mexico reported it, and I don't know, you know, I don't know how much of what goes on there we can trust, and I don't know if USDA knows about what we can trust there, but you know, something that happened that may have had a bigger impact that wasn't really reported very much is here just in the last few days, Mexico accepted nearly 4,700 head of live cattle from Nicaragua in one of their southern ports down there. And I'm sure that did not please U.S. officials. And I'm thinking that maybe that's had something, maybe a little more to do with this border closing than not. You know, if we don't want foreign people owning land You know, maybe on the borders, like at Santa Teresa, you know, the Mexicans run both sides of that border. The Chihuahua Cattlemen's Union runs both sides of that border, and they know how that deal works. It's all through grease. There's no friction there because there is so much grease going around everywhere. You know, we would have assumed that the cattle coming right away, which they only got to cross some from Douglas, Arizona there for a couple of days before they shut it back down. We were expecting all those cattle to be heavy and fleshy because they've been waiting on the other side of the border being fed to get to come across. But if you're a rancher down there and you grease the palms good enough, you might get to send some of your lighter calves up. And the price of those cattle doesn't really have anything to do with how much people want them, with the exception of the auction down there, of course. But through those brokers and that direct trade down there, you know, it doesn't have much to do with how much people want them. It's just how much grease they want to give some of those guys that are crossing them. And, you know, it's just ridiculous when you're trying to do any kind of business with a company or with a country that is so corrupt, you know. And I think this whole border closing, the on and off and everything that's been going on has been largely political. And even NCBA's Colin Woodall, he said that the closings were political just a day or two ago on a televised interview there. So I think that's mostly right, and so they're just making us believe these different things. You know, I don't want the screwworm over here either, but they need to decide what they're going to do with the border and quit trying to rely on somebody that is really you know, corrupt. But man, we had a heck of a day in our markets, in our feeder cattle markets. The board was up again, up good on the feeder cattle again. You know, they're up way over $10 on your nearby feeder cattle. And of course the Superior Video has been loving it out there in Colorado. I tell you what, that Emporia livestock sales had an in-house video there with help from DVAuction, and man, they had a humdinger there. And there was active bidding on DVAuction online and in the seats too, but they had several strings on there that were just west of the barn out in the Flint Hills there, and I told you about them yesterday. They ended up selling several strings of 850 to 900 pound yearling feeder steers green right off that blue stem there for July delivery right away. And those steers weighing 850 to 900 bring 315 to 320, be a direct delivery there, but sold on the in-house video through Emporia Livestock Sales. They had some strings that weighed 9 to 950 for July through mid-August delivery, and they sell from 306.5 to 311.50. That is nothing to sneeze at, guys. I mean, that is a really, really good sale, and Emporia can be an option for some guys that maybe got some cattle out there, don't have a lot of connections to sell them direct. You just take them right in there. It's just handy as a pocket on a shirt there. Take them into Emporia Livestock Sales. But Superior had some impressive sales again today. Maybe as a whole wasn't as wild on Wednesday as it was on Monday and Tuesday, but still plenty good. They were selling a lot of those calf strings way out west there, and man, that seems like a lot of freight for our central buyers there. But they did sell the B&H ranching calves there in Randolph, Utah. There were 92 of those steers, weighed 5.5. Home-raised Angus steers, and they had all the bells and whistles. NHTC, natural, veg-fed. They were not gapped. They couldn't been gap forward, and they were not gap calved. But they were not weaned. Not weaned. It's for November delivery. 92 steers weigh 550 pounds right off the cow at $3.99. And I thought that was awfully high there. Pretty good sale on those. Let's talk about your board. And it was impressive again for the third day this week, and we've only had 3 days this week. August live cattle futures are down just 20 cents at $219.77, but October was up 52 at $217.35. Your back months were up 67, and your farthest out month was up the most, up 155 for your farthest out traded month, and you don't see that hardly ever. August feeder cattle were up $1.35 at $320.47, right in line with your real-time index, far premium to your CME cash feeder cattle index. September feeder cattle up 85 cents at $320.02. Your back months were up 72 cents to, again, the farthest out traded month on feeder cattle had the highest gain, and it was $2.62 higher on the farthest out traded month. And that is odd. You just never see that, but bodes well for the future. Grains, look at them. December corn, new crop down 2.5 cents a bushel at $4.13. November beans, that'd be the new crop, up 1 3/4 cents at $10.09. Kansas City, hard red winter wheat for September down 3 3/4 at $5.20 1/4. Your fat cattle trade didn't have any trade. We had some trade earlier, but didn't have a lot of trade on Wednesday. So didn't see anything on a direct basis negotiated out of Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas. Kansas did sell more on Tuesday than we thought they had. I just saw confirmed 500 on our last report, but they indeed sold 1,100 head in Kansas on Tuesday at $225, and that was as high as they traded them the previous week. So there were some rumors that they traded some cattle in Kansas at $221, but I can't imagine they would have been very good, or something must have been up with them. They wouldn't have given in that easy. And the Northern Plains is priced way higher here because of all the gains on the board. Texas hasn't traded a hoof. Had a couple of fat cattle auctions. Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota had 1,075 head for their slaughter cattle auction, including all classes. The fed steers and heifers sold steady to $2 higher. Conventional fed cattle sell from $233 to $238.50, and program cattle from $238 to $244. Up the road at Glacial Lakes Livestock in Watertown, South Dakota, they had a fat cattle auction, had 700 head on offer. Their fed cattle were $4 to $5 higher. Conventional fed steers and heifers bringing $230 to $239, and programs from $240 to $244 1/4. They did have several Holstein steers sell from $195 to $220, and big fat fed cows from $170 to $177. Box beef cutout values plunged on Wednesday, sharply lower. I guess maybe they had some left over from their holiday buying there, didn't need any hand-to-mouth buying, but man, they come off the highs. Choice cuts were down $6.59 on Wednesday at $386.45. Selects were down $5.19 at $373.27. Slaughter is coming up short again. 349,000 estimated cattle slaughter up through Wednesday. That was 11,000 less than last week and 8,000 less than the same week a year ago up to this point. Let's talk about what else is going on. Legacy Beef Co-op, guys. I've been talking about this for a while. Reinvest your profits this year in the industry for the future. Now you can join Legacy Beef Co-op and reserve your harvest spot in Cattleman's Heritage Beef Plant near Council Bluffs, Iowa. You can reserve those spots for $10 a head to have your cattle harvested there, and then be able to get all the premiums that they offer there. I did that interview with James Timmerman. I can't imagine any of you haven't seen it, but if you haven't paid much attention to it, you want to know more about Legacy Beef Co-op, which he is running, go to legacybeefcoop.com, and I'm going to attach that video once again to this episode so you can listen to that. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance, working to protect your livelihood, guys. Your real-time index and late after all your sales had concluded, and there were a bunch of humdingers there, was at 320.58, up $4.17 just for the day. Your CME cash feeder cattle index did just what I told you it was going to do. It come in at 316.76, up 5.36, and I told you I thought Bassett would crank it up $5. But you look at your sales there, including Bassett Livestock Auction in Bassett, Nebraska. It was their barbecue special. The Federal State Market Reporter did not call a trend. I guess he had no record of the last sale that they had 2 weeks ago, but I still had the record, and it looked $15 to $20 higher to me. It was your Superior Steel Sales, home of Superior Standard Livestock Equipment, stick-out sale of the day, of course. And you look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central for Bassett Livestock Auction, and you look at your best tested weights, included 320 head of 5-weight steers, average 555 at 450.212 on the weighted average, 433 head of 6-weight steers, average 636 at 406.61, 436 head of the 7-weight steers, average 741 at 365.10. Woo! There were 932 head of 8-weight feeder steers in Bassett, Nebraska that averaged 858 with a weighted average price on 930 of them, weighted average price of $331.55. There were 395 head of 1,000-pound steers in Bassett. They averaged 1036 with an average price of $295.63. Wow. Look at the heifers. 272 head of 5-weight heifers averaged 556 at 398.31. There were 500 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 667 at 350.82, and 400 head of 7-weight heifers averaged 767, weighted average 327.09. 825 head of 8-weight feeder heifers, for the most part, weighed 848 on the average, with an average price of $313.94, and 219 head of 9-weight heifers averaged 938 at $289.34. Wow, what a sale they had at Bassett Livestock Auction. Set all kinds of all-time record highs, both for that barn and for anywhere in history. But there were several impressive quotes from all around the circuit, and I'm going to give you some of them. How about Hardin County Stockyards in Savannah, Tennessee? It had 60 steers, weighed 831 at 319.25. Not in the Sandhills in Nebraska, but in southern Tennessee. I mean, that's impressive, guys. How about Farmington Regional Stockyards in Farmington, Missouri? 112 head, 492-pound steers bring 447. Not in the Sandhills in Nebraska, but near the Boot Hill of Missouri there. How about South Central Regional Stockyards, and that's in Vienna, Missouri, right around the lake of the Ozarks there, guys. And it was Ross Patton, one of the owner's birthdays, and they had a heck of a sale. They sell 65 steers, weighed 707 at 356.75. Now I'm going to give you the top calf quote in Bassett. That was 202 head, 554-pound steers, bring 466. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday, and your Macris and no BS top quote for the day indeed come out of Bassett Livestock Auction was 112 steers, weighed 1033, bring 312.50. Figure those up. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday. I'm Corbett Wall with this feeder flash feature. I'm going to be interviewing James Timmerman here with Legacy Beef Cooperative and Cattlemen's Heritage Beef. How are you doing, James?
Good. How are you doing, Corbett?
Now, this is the first time we've met, right?
That's correct.
But the Timmerman name is synonymous with top quality cattle feeding and top quality beef production, right?
Yes, it is.
Can you tell me a little bit about that and how it ties in with this new venture?
Yes. So my family is, like you said, in the cattle feeding, ranching business. All started with my grandfather in the mid 40s, moved to Omaha, Nebraska, and built a feed yard there to be closer to the stockyards. My dad and his brothers took over the family business and grew it in western Nebraska and eastern Colorado. And they themselves got involved in beef processing in the mid 90s. And so that family legacy really is expanded to two brothers and cousins who are in the cattle feeding business. And myself, I kind of chose a little different path and went into beef processing and was in the business for 25 years. And so it's kind of led me here to Legacy Beef Co-op.
So you got a lot of background in this industry. What drew you to Legacy Beef Cooperative and Cattlemen's Heritage Beef?
So I've heard about the project for the last few years and just got a little bit of information. We discussed the co-op model. I thought it was perfect for the industry at this time in kind of the development of beef processing. And so I really wanted to be part of the team, and kind of coincidence, they were needing some assistance with the co-op. And so then in October of 2024, I decided to join Legacy Beef and work on the project.
So last time we were interviewing Chad Tenninger, and you have become involved with him with this venture, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now he has experience in this, and he was telling us about the efficiencies that he's put into this new plant. Do you see these efficiencies and how they're going to help the success of this plant in the long run?
I really do, because a lot of the plants now being developed in the last 4 or 5 years, the technology is really amplified to where it was, where there's a lot more robotics involved in the actual processing and the sorting of beef products. Also in the storage, where it really helps reduce the labor needed for beef processing, which in turn, with labor being the biggest cost, reduce the cost and makes the plant much more efficient.
I see. James, can you give our audience just a kind of an overview of Legacy Beef Cooperative and Cattlemen's Heritage Beef, what we're talking about exactly?
Yes. So Legacy Beef Co-op is the co-op that producers will join and be members of. Cattlemen's Heritage is the beef processing plant being developed near Council Bluffs, Iowa. So the members of Legacy Beef will be equity members in Cattlemen's Heritage, and the equity we raise through the co-op, they will be 20% owners of Cattlemen's Heritage.
So what do you see valuable within the co-op model and eventually the Cattlemen's Heritage Beef plant?
What I like a lot about the co-op model is that it allows small to medium-sized cattle producers to be involved, one, in a co-op that helps them out in their operations. Plus, I think within the beef industry, I think we do need more producer involvement. So with this model, if you join the co-op and become a member of the co-op, you also have the opportunity to invest in Cattlemen's Heritage Beef as well. So you do have a little bit of equity into cattle and beef production.
So do you think ultimately this type of a model for the beef packing will help keep more smaller farmer feeders in business?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I
And
do.
that's one thing that drew you to it.
That's really what draws me to it, is because I do think you hear a lot of stories being out in the country with small producers, anywhere from 2,500 head they feed to even up to 10,000, how they really are looking for better marketing opportunities and really more equitable arrangements compared to the larger feeders in the country.
Sure. Can you tell us a little bit about the investment model with Legacy Beef Cooperative and where we're at within that?
So the overall investment, have 5 rounds of investment. Currently, we have sold through the first 2 rounds, so we're in the third round. To what we are currently in right now is what we're calling our seed round, which is giving you the opportunity to reserve your space, or shackle space in the investment in Cattlemen's Heritage. So right now, to reserve a spot is $10 per head. We'll reserve a spot in the co-op and you become a member of the co-op. The share price we're currently at in round 3 for the equity investment in Cattlemen's Heritage is $175 per share per shackle space.
Okay. And that's gone up from the first and second.
Correct. So it was started at 125 for the first round, 150 for the second. So right now 175, and then round 4 is 200 and round 5 is 225.
Okay.
So there are advantages in getting in currently.
Right. So, but to reserve your spot, you need to be invested in one of the rounds at least, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, is there a maximum or a minimum of your spots that you can reserve?
The minimum would be, we say there's no minimum, but the best really is 1 load. So we do have members who are buying 40 shares just for
Just
1
for a
load a
load of
year.
cattle?
Yes, and there is no maximum.
Okay. And that's annually. So if you bought 40, you could send 1 load of fed cattle into the Cattlemen's Heritage Beef plant.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, good. So you've got a key date coming up here this summer. Tell me about July 1st and what that's going to kick off.
That's correct, Corbett. On July 1st, we are really going to start the co-op on an operational basis. So we are going to start offering members marketing opportunities for the cattle that are part of the co-op. Also look at ways that we can help them on their purchasing power. And really what the goal with that co-op starting on July 1st is really to give the small to medium producers put them on the same level playing field as the big feed yards.
I see. So these shares, once you purchase them, they're going to have value, right? And will you be able to market them among other shareholders?
Yes. So really, the way we have it structured is that per share that you purchase, you are obligated to deliver the animal. Then if you feel like you cannot make the delivery, then you do have the ability to lease those shares out to other members of the co-op, that they can you can have some value owning these shares, and you can have cattle delivered on those shares.
We've seen something similar to this with U.S. premium beef in Kansas. So, and those shares have become pretty valuable. Do you see that happening with this venture?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. What kind of cattle are we looking to harvest at Cattlemen's Heritage Beef? Do you have a target?
Currently, we don't have a specific target, but as most beef processors, we're looking for a high grade, high quality beef. But really, we're not going to specify exactly what we need to have delivered.
So, James, this whole venture has kind of been based off of marketing the cattle off of the dressed beef price rather than the live market or the way some of your big 4-packers price the cattle or purchase the cattle. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes. So we are looking for the pricing the cattle is using the USDA choice market as the base, and plan on gridding the cattle with premiums and discounts based off USDA choice, which is different than buying them live or buying them just dressed beef.
Right. And the market's been really good. All-time record highs here posted within the last few months on every class of cattle that there is, but that's not going to last forever.
That's correct.
So
That's correct.
we may be able to insulate some of these producers from the downside of this going forward, don't you think?
Yes, yes. We feel like, really with the pricing model we have in place for the cattle, it really it gives protection because you're going to be paid what the plant is selling you beef for. So you really get the true value of your beef.
I see. So you're basically going to be sharing more of the pie than what cattle feeders are used to, the way things have been set up, right?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
great.
Yes.
So this is primarily set up for smaller feeders. Of course, a bigger feeder could get involved in it too. But how many cattle are we looking to harvest annually?
So annually, we're looking to harvest about 525,000 head annually. So 2,000 head a day on one shift per day.
So is that how many shares there's going to be put out then is 525,000
That's correct.
annually?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so all of those cattle. So you won't be having to get short of cattle and be looking for them. You'll know that they're coming. How will you schedule the cattle in?
The way I look at it is that really once you know your cattle are ready to come in, you need to call us. We'll schedule based on really first come, first serve. If you call, we'll put up if we know the week your cattle are ready, we'll schedule them. But we also will probably need to go out on the market some in certain months, especially in the summer,
To fill some gaps.
to fill in some gaps.
I see. Okay. Now, you're also looking at producers further in the line to maybe fill some of these gaps, and you've got a cow-calf program or a cow-calf producer program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So we are looking and visiting with cow-calf producers all throughout the country. And as you know, the market right now, they are selling their calves with a pretty good profit. But as we also know that the market there will be a downturn. So what we are really is targeting with cow-calf producers is that they become members of the co-op. They own the shares, so it really gives them a lot of flexibility based on the market. Either they can sell their calves like they currently are now, and then lease their shares out to the feeders who buy them. But then the cow-calf would still get benefits of ownership in terms of delivery fees and equity. But it gives them a little protection that if they want to retain ownership in their calves, they can feed them out and then have somewhere to go that will still give them a hedge and true value of what their carcasses are worth.
Right. So Legacy Beef Cooperative has pretty much all been set up to get the investment and get the core to get Cattlemen's Heritage Beef going, right?
Correct.
Okay. And do we have a time frame on Cattlemen's Heritage Beef when we think we would have that going and could start harvesting some cattle?
Currently, we are still scheduled to start groundbreaking towards the end of this year, which would it's a 2-year construction project, so probably the beginning of 2028. But as we explore market conditions, especially in the next few months and look at heifer retention, we do also have the ability to delay a little bit and open when the market conditions seem more advantageous.
As tight as packer margins are right now, I wouldn't blame you by
Yes.
dragging your feet just a little bit. So might be better for the whole project if you do.
Yes, yes.
But it's just it's right on the horizon here. I mean, it'll be here before you know it.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. So of the 5 rounds of investment, we've made it through the first 2, and then we're working on the 3rd round. How much longer do you think it'll take to finish that up?
Well, our goal for the next round really is to have it completed by July 1st.
Okay.
And then move on to the next.
I see. So if we've got some listeners that are interested in investing into Legacy Beef Cooperative, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you guys and see what they want to do?
Well, the best way to get a hold of us is go to our website, which is www.legacybeefcoop.com, and there is a submission form where you can send us your information. You can email me directly at james@legacybeefcoop.com, or call me at 531-375-6559.
Well, we're moving right along on this Legacy Beef Cooperative investment, and it won't be long before we're going to have groundbreaking on this Cattleman's Heritage Beef Plant. It's an exciting new venture, the efficiencies we've talked about, and it was great to get to talk to you and learn more about this project.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad I could share it with you.
Until next time, I'm Corbett Wall with this Feeder Flash feature.